Today is day 2 of Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week, and I am doing a little challenge that has been floating around on social media, and it's a photo challenge, but I decided that I wanted to turn it into video. And today's word, February 8th, is surgery/meds. Now, since this is still a photo challenge and I am also partaking in the photo challenge, I picked a photo that can be hard for some people to look at, but it needs to be shown, it needs to be seen, because it's a reality for me and a lot of other CHD parents, and so I'm going to show you it right now. So this is my photo for surgery meds. Of course, when Gracie was born, she was hooked up to IVs from the get-go. You know, when she came out, she was whisked away by the nurses. I didn't even get to see her, what she looked like. I only got to hear her small little voice, but she was whisked away in the next room, and the doctors and nurses were just examining her, checking her out, before I could even see her. And my husband, Sean, was with her that whole time that she was in the other room. They did eventually bring her into the room. You know, she was all bundled up in a blanket. She had a little white hat on, and they put her right in front of me, right next to my face. She was beautiful, and I couldn't touch her. They didn't allow me to touch her, but I got to kiss her on the head and see her beautiful hair. They took her hat off, and she had beautiful brown hair, and that was the first time I'd seen her. But after the very short few minutes that I got with her, they of course took her underground. There was an underground tunnel that brought her to Minneapolis Children's, where she was going to be in the NICU. When she was there, of course, they hooked her up to a couple medications right away. One being TPN, basically just a little nutrition to keep her going. She had no food. They would not allow her to have food because she had surgery coming up. So, and then I think they gave her caffeine, because she kept on forgetting to breathe. So they were pumping caffeine, and really, you know, that's the only two things that I even remember. There were just so many things. She was moved from the NICU up to the CVCC Cardiovascular Care Center at Children's. And so she had her own big room, so they brought her up there, and I got to cuddle her for a while until, of course, I had to go back to my room at Abbott Northwestern Hospital to take more meds for me because I had a cesarean section. So I had so little time with her when I was still in the hospital, and I hated going back and forth and having to leave when I was cuddling her, and of course, you know, my husband could still be with her, but it sucked. It sucked so bad. Once I was discharged, I could spend that time with her. And we just spent all our time cuddling, and because I knew I wouldn't have that for much longer. When Gracie was 6 days old, it was surgery day. So I got to hold her for the last time right before surgery. I remember this little 6-pound baby on this big person bed, and they rolled her back. We followed right behind through the double doors, the dreaded double doors. Every once in a while you would get an update from a doctor on how she was doing and what was going on. And her surgeon at the very end came in, and he said to us, now Gracia is doing great. There is a machine called ECMO, which is basically, it's a heart and lung machine. This is what they use during surgery, after surgery, if baby's heart is just not doing as well as they'd hope. And so this machine would really just help pump all of the blood flow through the heart, and to put it simply, it just basically did all the work that her heart needed to do. It did it for her. Ideally, these babies shouldn't be on that machine for very long. I have friends that have had their kids on it for months, and it's the scariest thing. So scary. So he just kind of explained to us a little bit more about that, and kind of let us know what we were going to see. After surgery, they got her all situated and everything going, and the meds going, and so we waited to go see her, and once we did, we walked in that room, and I don't fully remember seeing this huge machine, which later I knew was this huge machine that took up the whole back of the room behind her bed. And I just saw her. I saw her on, again, adult-sized bed. She had tubes running up through her chest. There's these big, thick tubes with blood flowing through them, coming in her chest and out. And of course her chest was still open. They leave it open for a few days. But you couldn't see, the open chest, so of course they kept that covered. But she was so puffy. Seriously, we always said that she looked like the Michelin Man, because honestly she did. She had the big puffy hands, and she looked like she had big bubbles all the way around. She just looked like she had liquid all the way around her body. Her face was huge, and behind her bed, she had stacks upon stacks and stacks and stacks of meds, and they were all pumping through her veins. And just seeing her on that bed, just puffy, and those tubes running in and out of her, and it was the hardest thing is to see a baby hopeless and helpless only 6 days before that. I gave birth to her. She was laying in this bed, and I couldn't do, me being her mother, there was nothing I could do. I could only put my finger in the palm of her hand. That's all I could do. She was on that stupid, wonderful machine for an entire week. During the time and the next days when she was still on ECMO, yeah, she was alert. She was awake. Probably wasn't comprehending anything, you know, going on around, because she was so drugged up, and she would just stare at me. We would just stare at each other for hours and hours and hours, and then she would sleep and open her eyes again, and just, I would stare at her, and I would tell her stories, and I would sing her songs, and read her books, and tell her how absolutely beautiful she was. I told her every single day how beautiful she was. How I could go on for days about her story and my interpretation of surgery and beds. Because we had 82 days of it. After a month of me still not being able to hold her, she was still stuck in her bed, and because she still had a ventilator going through her nose, and you can't really move them much. I mean, you can move their position, you can change her diaper, and you know, all that kind of stuff, but I couldn't physically, you know, hold her in my arms. Since she had that ventilator in for an entire month, she was not able to breathe well enough on her own, so we had to make a hard decision, and we wanted her to start thriving, to start growing. And the only way she was able to do that was to get a tracheostomy. So she had that surgery, and she also had I'll just give you the abbreviation, it's called a GJ tube, and basically just goes into her stomach. It's a hole that they surgically put there, and the tube goes into her stomach, so that way she can get meds through there, she could get food through there, because we wanted her to really start to thrive and grow so we could take her home. And of course, once she had those surgeries, she did start to thrive, and her personality started showing off, and she started growing so well, and she even started taking bottles by mouth, and some of the doctors frowned on that, but I said, no, why? You know, and she did awesome, and the best part of her having that surgery was that I could hold her in my arms again, and it was, once I could do that, I wanted to do nothing else. That's the only thing I wanted to do, was hold her, and I did just that. I rocked her and sang to her all day, every day, and yeah, that is the very shortened version of what surgery and meds means to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit more of Gracia's story, and thank you for allowing me to tell it. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another one. Thanks for watching. Bye.